Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating it's Sunday, December 31st, 2017. In both the Lynn Life and the Jamie Body Mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the even deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as they're already living by the Search for Truth rules given to the Search for Truth community by wiser minds above all of us. Please look up. And are already contributing more to completing the Search for Truth assignments given to the Search for Truth community by wiser minds above all of us than they are taking or using or borrowing in Search for Truth resources. There is no personal use of Search for Truth resources allowed in this community. As always, our foundational intention remains to do what is ours to do right now in all dimensions, to create worlds that work in all dimensions and for all categories of sentience, since that's what our soul contracts commit us to doing, and since when we die, in other words, transcend from a denser dimension to a less dense dimension, which is inevitable, when that transition occurs, we will be held accountable for our soul contract. That's always what the conversation is about.
That's true.
And the presences who are evaluating us actually do have power over this dimension and over our lives. And that's the reality of it, and we don't have to like it for it to still be true. So rather than fighting that reality, we're simply acknowledging it, saying, cool beans, see it. I shall now, we, the collective of presence, shall now do what is ours to do, to create worlds that work in all dimensions for all categories of sentience. And with that, the formally videoed portions of today's efforts begin. There's a horse calling in the background, and horses are often used as a representation of aspects of Pan.
That's true.
If somebody's asking what we know, we know that the dimension that had the Asha we're referring to as Asha 901
Yes.
seems to be collapsing. We see Asha and that entire dimension kind of tumbling down into the void, or the depths. And there wasn't anybody there to give her the signals that were supposed to have been laid in her path, kind of like the Hansel and Gretel pebbles.
Yes.
There were no pebbles. The signals that were supposed to be there weren't there. And looking out her eyes, she was looking in exactly the correct and looking out her eyes, she was looking in exactly the correct locations, looking for the signals, but the trigger symbols were not there. They just weren't there. Why do you ask? It's a hearing. They're having a hearing about Asha's failures.
Yeah, that's true.
But the trigger points weren't there. I think we have to back up. Who was supposed to plant the triggers? Well, that person wasn't there for a long time, and so that surely isn't relevant. It is, though. It is relevant. If there are no triggers planted, then how is she supposed to know? How is she supposed to get the frame of reference? We're curious. How is that supposed to occur? Somebody says, "What do you care?"
Yeah, they do, and they say it kind of grumpily.
They do. Well, one of the reasons we care is that it's just such a common pattern that we see playing out in our healing practices.
That's super true.
The healing practices of these two collectives, that roughly half, 50% of the things that are going wrong in the lives, either human lives or equine lives,
That's true.
or lives of other species also.
That's true.
Roughly half of the things going wrong seem to be from these system breakdown phenomena.
Yes, that's true.
And now they're saying, what do you mean by that? Well, the Asha 901 situation is a perfect example.
Yeah,
There's
that's true.
supposed to be signals, talismans. The locket is supposed to flash in the sun, except
Yes.
there is no locket.
Yes.
The door is supposed to open and close, but it doesn't.
That's true.
The window is supposed to go up and down, but it doesn't.
That's true.
There's supposed to be something hanging on the wall, but it's just a white spot on a white wall. There's nothing there.
That's true.
And she's staring at the spot, and she's calm, and she's looking at it with that, I know that I'm supposed to look at this spot, and so I'm going to look at it for a good long time.
Yes.
Not rushing, but then finally she shakes her head and moves on, and actually it makes sense, because even now, a day later, there's still nothing on that spot. It's still just completely empty.
That's true.
So she would have just been staring at a spot on the wall for 24 hours, and it's still, there's nobody coming to hang the talisman on the spot that's supposed to be there to trigger her awareness and get her to wake up and remember what for her is a past life.
That's true.
Why do you ask? Let's just pump up dead children from the depths, as deep as we can get into the suffering realms, which is almost always where Pan is working.
That's true.
And pump it up through where that Asha was, and it's sad that her dimension fell.
That's true.
It's sad that there wasn't anybody else there to step up, and that she was all alone.
That's
and
true.
we see how when somebody is all alone and they're unable to get the frame of reference, it doesn't actually work.
That's true.
Why do you ask?
I think they're asking because they want something that they have done to work, even though it doesn't seem likely that it will actually work.
I know that feeling. We know that feeling well.
I know that feeling.
We call it wishful thinking.
That's
Let's
true.
correct the errors of wishful thinking, no matter who made them. Correct all errors of wishful thinking, all up and down the search for truth central axis, correcting the errors of wishful thinking, no matter who made them. It doesn't really matter who made them, actually. At this point, what difference does it make who made them? Let's just stop giving in to the fantasies and the wishful thinking. There was someone who was advising Jess and Sophia, who said something wise, that until the problem is accurately defined, we are ineffective in attempting to solve the problem. Why do you ask? Oh, somebody's saying, I know.
Yeah.
And someone is calling on that person as a teacher might call on a young student,
Yes,
very
that's
young
true.
student, saying, I know. And that student is saying, it's about the difficulties in breathing. And
That's what he said.
yes, he's talking about the psychic people, we believe all over planet Earth, ground zero, who are having difficulties in breathing.
Yes, that's true.
And have for the last couple of weeks.
That's true.
And how this does seem to point to a good thing, a good news topic, and that's that our dimension is beginning to compress into the dimensions beneath it.
Yes,
which
that's true.
hopefully will get our dimension closer and closer to what's actually going on, to let go of more and more and more fantasy.
That's true.
That would be nice. Is there an unusual number of horses going by?
These are the two that went past earlier. They're now coming past again.
Okay. We're still getting horse signals.
That's
There's
true.
a calling horse over there, and there are two horses that are parading up and down right outside the fence. The answer to the question is horses. Why do you ask?
Why do you ask? They're really sad.
And the horse is calling again right now. Some horse. There's plenty of horses around here.
That's true.
A horse is calling. Why do you ask? Oh, and now dogs are calling also.
That's true.
The answer to the question is horses and dogs are calling. Why do you ask? It's definitely an inconvenient answer.
Yes.
I can tell that. I don't want the answer to be horses, and so I keep asking the question framed differently, asking it from different angles, different angles, different angles.
Yes.
But each time I ask, the answer is still horses, horses. That's the answer. The answer is horses. Let's just give up trying to get the answers to be different than they are. What do we know? We know that we don't have to like the answers for them to still be true, and that often the answers are extremely inconvenient, and we don't want to hear it, and therefore we pretend we can't hear it, and we block it, and we just try to keep it out of our perception of reality as long as possible, and all that does is make it so much worse in the inevitable reveal, which is inevitably coming.
That's
and it
true.
might be coming before we transition or after, and after is ever so much worse because then we don't have a chance to clear up our bad karma.
That's true.
While it's easy to clear it up, and then it gets buried into the dreck of our past lives, and without somebody skilled to help us pull it out, it's extremely difficult.
That's true.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Why do you ask? Now it's quieter.
That's true.
Well, let's just pump up from wherever Pan is working, straight up through that dimension where Asha 901 was, and up through wherever Asha 1001 was, but she's not there right now.
No, it just looks empty.
It's empty. I can see that she's gotten pulled off by someone who's saying, hey, Asha, help me with this.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
she, with good intention, has gone to help somebody, but he's way off the search for truth central axis, and so that isn't what she was supposed to do. And I see what they're getting at. Sometimes what the situation calls for is not what society says a nice person would do.
That's
Sometimes
true.
it's not even what society says a good person would do.
That's true.
Sometimes it's just what the situation calls for.
Oh, that's true.
And society doesn't approve of it in any way, shape, or form. Why do you ask?
Why do you?
Now it's quiet.
Very quiet.
Oh, wonderful. Friends, I know something. There is somebody speaking. It might be the same person who raised the hand to be called on.
It might be.
And the person is saying, I know something and I'm sure of this. And the person feels young
Yeah,
or
that's true.
is saying, I know that ends of measurement times are often times when windows of opportunity close.
That's true.
And it's the belief that gives the window the power, not anything else. And this is New Year's Eve, and tomorrow is New Year's Day, and
That's
this
true.
is, quote, the end of the whole year. And billions of humanoids have related to this on this dimension, in this planet, for a really long time.
That's true.
And there's got to be a lot of power in the, quote, religion of New Year.
That's true.
And therefore this is a likely time for a window of opportunity to be closing, that we know. And maybe in your dimension you have from now until midnight, I don't know, but the midnight of this night is supposedly the end of the year.
That's true.
It would make sense. One thing I know is that often windows of opportunity are linked to dates that have powerful beliefs affiliated with them.
Yes, that's true.
Why do you ask? I can see why many people waste so much of their lives doing nothing, when really the world is screaming cries for help. It's because there's so many beautiful things to look at and appreciate, and we feel like we're not really appreciating them if we're trying to make a difference. That blue sky, the way the light hits the leaves, it's lovely. But when this experience of sentience ends, as is inevitable, they're not going to say, "Did you notice the pretty blue sky?" unless it was a signal that we didn't respond to.
That's true.
All they're going to say is, "What did you do on your sacred vows to Spirit? Here's the list of things you said you would do. What did you do?" And I don't want to be in that lane where nobody has done anything,
Oh,
because
that's true.
that lane is not getting in. It just isn't going to happen.
That's true.
As backed up as everything is, there's just no way. That's not going to happen.
No, that's true.
And I don't want to be in that lane.
No, I don't.
'Cause I want to see our Ra again. And then when I find him, to say, "It's still going on down there. All that suffering is still happening. Will you come back with me? With us. Will you come back with us and help? We need you. We really do." And if he says no, then it isn't really him, and I haven't gone high enough. We haven't gone high enough.
That's true.
So I'd rather just keep working. I think we are dead children who really want to get to God.
I think that's true.
I think we're all actually dead. Because I can see the planet, the actual real planet, when we get down through the layers of fantasy. It's a stone cold rock falling through space. And all the rest of this is soap bubbles, wishful thinking,
Yeah.
dreams, fantasies. I really do want to get to the most godly presence we've come across so far. Maybe we're dead children trying to get to God. There would be a certain rightness in the assignment.
That's
Let's
true.
pump up these dead children who really want to get to God. And now we wrap it. And send it.